Life has seasons, doesn't it? And in one of my previous seasons, I used to travel a lot to preach. I used to get invitations to go to places. And one of the countries that I visited on many occasions was the United States of America. Thoroughly enjoyed our trips to the US, by the way. And on one particular visit there, it was before my second daughter was born. So Rebecca, my eldest, would have been about 4 years of age at the time. My wife, myself, and Rebecca went on a road trip. I'd asked for some free time during the week because I wanted to cover some of the states in the northeast of the US. They're much smaller, generally speaking, than some of the bigger ones as you get across to the Midwest and beyond. So a smaller area in that sense, because I did cover 11 in total on my journey. And we set off from Smithsburg, which is near Hagerstown in Maryland, and drove up the East Coast. I remember going through Delaware and Connecticut, and we reached Massachusetts. Plymouth is a place that I'd always wanted to go to, especially with the Pilgrim Fathers in 1620 arriving in Plymouth itself. So we stayed overnight in Plymouth. I can remember the next morning we were sitting on the dock of the bay. The Otis Redding song came to mind. A beautiful, glorious day. And we were drinking coffee and eating donuts. Then we set off and we continued up the East Coast. We went as far as Maine, which is as far as you can go, as far as the states are concerned in the US. And while I was there, I bought this crab. Now, Maine, of course, is synonymous with seafood, lobsters probably in particular, but also crabs as well. And this is in my man cave. It's on the mantelpiece or on one of the shelves here. And every time I see that, it reminds me of that long journey that we made. And we also went through Vermont and New Hampshire, and we stayed overnight the next night in Pennsylvania. And we stayed on and I can't remember if it was a car park or a lay-by. I think it was a car park, big car park, and there were trucks and that pulled up. So it was a safe place to stay. So we stayed there, got some kip, not too much in the car, just enough to refresh. And then the next morning, made our way back to Maryland. Great memories, 11 states and a lot of miles in those 3 days. And even some Americans who are used to driving long distances, when I told them of my plans and what I intended to do, even they looked a little bit as if that's a step too far. But I did it, drove lots and lots of miles, thoroughly enjoyed that little 3-day, 2-night adventure around the northeast states of America. And every time I see my crab, it's only got one eye, one of the eyes popped off. A bit like a crab in real life, isn't it? They often have legs missing and body parts missing. But every time I see that crab, it always reminds me of that journey we made around the northeast states of the USA.